And okay. Hello, good afternoon, everyone. But actually, I had to say it's good night for me because my place is midnight now. And today, and my name is Yao Li, and I just graduated from the University of Queensland in last December, and now I'm planning uh, to apply for a PhD later, but still in the pre preparation process. And my topic today is about the beliefs for primary teachers about the communicative English teaching transformation in North China. Mm, and here are my outlines. And I will start with the background of my study. So, with the generalization of double reduction policy in China mainland recently, the teaching approaches in compulsory education, which are the elementary and secondary education, are changing. So especially those rural areas where usually seem underdeveloped compared to the metropolitans. So in those areas, the changes are more obvious because English is one of the principal subjects in those educational stages. However, some traditional methods, such as the audiolingual grammar trends and also teacher-fronted forms, are still strongly influential. So still predominant in those rural areas. And also, exam-oriented learning scheme is prevailing. That is, for most of students, they still consider exam scores, their academic performance as a very important motivation for them to study in school. And also, there's some policies, as I mentioned, the double reduction policy, and also in 2022, a new curriculum standard reform is conducting and through a top-down process in China education system. So this is the background of my studies. So with this background and the gaps, that is there's some research gaps in primary English in rural areas, and also some relationship between the teaching approaches and language policies still need more attention in the studies. This current study, aims to investigate and service teachers' beliefs about the novel teaching with communicative tasks in a North China rural area. So this is the aim of my study. And as for the methodology, I used this study conducted in a rural area situated in the North China city, because those teachers don't want to like reveal their identities, so I won't give you the name of the city. And as for the participants, because I have two instruments for the questionnaire, there are 43 local rural English teachers working in these primary schools, and they have different teaching years and experience in the target area. And for the interview, 6 teachers selected from the questionnaire survey and invited to join in the semi-structured interviews. So here are my instruments. The full pass for the online questionnaire survey, the basic information language proficiency, methods ranking, and also the factors perceived by those teachers influencing the implementation of the method. And also the 3 types used in the questionnaire, which are multiple choices, Likert scales, and also ranking questions. In the semi-structured interviews, there are 16 questions prepared for each participant, and because this is a semi-structured interviews, some additional questions were asked based on the talking process. So the interview the interview time span was not stable. It lasted from 30 minutes to 60 minutes respectively. And as I mentioned, because I have two instruments, and for the questionnaires, it's mainly about the quantitative method, but for the interviews, I use some semantic analysis, which is a more qualitative method. So I use Excel for the basic data arrangements, and I also make for the graph making and also tabulating, and use this BSS for a more complex data processing. For example, I use it to check the reliability of the Likert scales I used in the questionnaire. And for the qualitative phase, phase, I first of all deal with the recordings, for example, transcribing and translating work, and also the scripts produced by myself was revised by a professional who was my thesis supervisor. She is a professional in Chinese and English translation, so the revision can help me to improve the reliability of my translation. And after doing this, the scripts was read over and coded, and then I classify the codes, and finally those categories were named. So the results here, because I used two instruments, so there are two parts here I will show my results. The first part is about the questionnaire results. So as I mentioned, there are four parts in the questionnaire, and the first part is about the basic information of those teacher participants. So based on the questionnaire results, we can see the teachers' age group were mainly between 25 to 39 years old, and the teaching years were mainly between 1 year to 10 years. And so the second part is about their self-evaluation, about their English proficiency based on a Chinese standard of English language ability scales, because they are Chinese English teachers. So I use the Chinese scale, use the Chinese standard for them to maybe can help them better understanding the description of different levels. And from the graph here, you can see most of teachers evaluated themselves as the intermediate learners, because there are 9 levels in the standard, and from level 4 to level 6 are the intermediate language users. So you can see that the green bars and the red bar. So through the aspects, a very obvious one is the reading one. So in other aspects, most of teachers usually evaluate themselves as the intermediate users, but in the reading aspect, in the reading skill, the teachers they are like upper intermediate users. So through this, maybe we can assume that the local teachers are good. Reading skills is the best skills that those teachers have. And for the next part 3, is about the teacher's choices of the approaches they used and they preferred in the language teaching. However, through this chart, we can see a problem is that both preference and the actual use in their language teaching seem to have a similar result. So there are two possibilities I gave for this phenomenon. The first one is there is a congruence between the teacher's beliefs and their actions in language teaching. However, I think the second one is maybe a possible reason, which is that because this is just a questionnaire and all the things are just the subjective judgments of those teachers. So those teachers may have misconceptions or misunderstanding of the meaning of the definition of the description of those teaching methods and approaches. Although I gave them some definitions, but some of them maybe not so like clear to them. So they may just choose the similar thing for both preference and also the actual use. And the final part is about the factors influencing the method used, the application of the policies perceived by those teachers. So the first factor is about the teachers. The first aspect we can see from this table, those teachers think their spoken proficiency level could be a very important factor. However, their misconceptions, their maybe myth about the CLT was not so important for them to apply the method, the communicative methods. And as for the student-related factors, they thought students' willingness is very important, whether the students are glad to join in the communicative activities. It has a 3.65 mean score. And on the other hand, students' current English proficiency was considered weak influence. And a very interesting thing that there is a conflict between the questionnaire results and the interview results, and I will mention it later. And the third aspect is about the education system related factors. So here, the teachers thought the government's educational department's support of are very important for those teachers in their like pedagogical practice. But the materials, the authentic materials, was considered not so important. And also, I also contained two more factors. One is the parents related. Although the parents related factors wasn't focused much in the previous findings, I thought it may have the parents may have their role in the language learning and also the policies implementation. So I just added them into my questionnaire. So we can see a phenomenon is that only this one got a higher score, which means that parents' desire for the children's better academic performance considered as a very important factor. However, the other two, the parents' educational background and English proficiency, seem not so relevant to the method used in their teaching. And some other factors here, the language context and environment was considered as a very important part for them. And also another section of the results are about interviews. Here I will present 5 aspects of the the first one is about the attitudes, the teacher's understanding about the communicative language teaching method. So the result is that they know something, however, they hadn't formulated quite clear understanding. For example, some teachers said, I don't know much about it. or my understanding might be relatively shallow. And also their explanation proved their opinions because they think communicative language teaching is needs teachers to communicate more with students. And another teacher thought, oh, it's just about the speaking. However, some other teacher participants have better understanding. For example, one teacher 4 said, it's not just about the language forms, also about the language awareness and social functions. And under this method use, the group and pair work should be used more, and also the information conveyance is very important in the activities. And teacher 5 also said, this opinion seems more like a situational method, but also mentioned an point that is students should use their own target language repertoires in the activities in their communication rather than based on the materials, the information given on the textbook. And the second point here is about the attitudes, teachers' attitudes towards the communicative language teaching. They all have a positive attitude, but some teachers express their worries about how to apply this new method in the current situation. For example, some teachers said their teaching skills were improved, and also they thought their students accept this new methodology and would be well in the later method used classrooms. However, more difficulties are mentioned in the interviews. For example, the exam-dominant educational system, and also sometimes teacher had better understanding of the methodology, so they used the wrong way to conduct it. Maybe they just did let students to read the scripts on the textbook, and it's a kind of very not the real role play activity, just to read something. So they may like make some mistakes during this process. And also some teachers express about the teacher agency and training. So they think they can make some changes, but however, they can only make a few changes because they were restrained by the policies, by the curriculum standards. So they have very few opportunities to use their expert in the new method theories and practices. And also, as for the training, all the teachers express their their positive attitudes towards the teacher training, and they need more training. So the final point I want to emphasize here is about the teacher suggestions. So there's three aspects about the teacher development, language use, context, and language policy materials. So teachers need more training because sometimes their abilities are limited by their current level or something. So they need more training and timely training. And also they need to be more flexible because different students have different levels and different learning status. So they need to be more flexible in method use and also use different method. And for the language use context, they think the environment and context are very important. And also, they need opportunities both in the classroom and out of the classroom so that students can get more chance for the target language use, and family education is a very important part. And finally, as for the language policies and materials, so some teachers said the materials should be adjusted because like topical and situational lessons should be used more so that they can organize the communicative activities better. And also the starting of the language English learning should be earlier because like in the kindergarten, they'll have a better preparation for the later target language development rather than just to start from the grade 3 in primary school. So finally, I have two like mainly results. One is about the local teacher situation. So what are the teacher group, young group with just an intermediate proficiency and overall, they had an overall moderate workload and their mindset is changing because of the new policies and their acceptability, I think. And for the factors specified by those teachers, we can have teachers-related factors, students-related factors, and the factors about the context and culture, and also the situation and policies. And there's some notable conflicts in this study. One is the class size and workload. Those are mentioned significantly in some previous findings, for example, in Thailand or in Indonesia in the similar Asian context, but in this study, teachers didn't stress those points. And another one is about the teachers' proficiency and parents' roles. So the teachers, the results, the answers given in the questionnaires and in the interviews are different, even opposite. So, okay. Yeah, and finally, I want to express the expectations for the the study direction. One is the classroom observation should be added because of the COVID impact. I just can organize some online instruments and activities for my study. And the second one is the the possibility and practical quality of the eclecticism in the method used. We maybe not just like communicative or not just traditional, combine both method could be a better choice for the localization of the target method, teaching method. And also studying in different areas in China is necessary because China has a large area and different areas have different conditions and also large regional gaps between those areas. And finally, parents' role should be noticed more and investigated more because I suggested parents' roles also play a very important role in China's students' language education. And that's all. Do you have any questions about my study? Thank you.